Hello, everyone. I'm Rayana Starr with the Unstoppable Real Estate Investor. And I'll tell you, this is a woman who is the poster child for being an unstoppable real estate investor. We talk about the statistics are pretty bad in this industry. Bigger Pockets says 95% of all real estate investors fail. And that means there's only 5% who make it. And the whole point of Unstoppable Real Estate Investor, our boot camps, our coaching programs, is so that we can move that statistic. And I would love in the next year or two to see only 90% of all real estate investors fail, 10%. So here is definitely a top 5%er. Joanna Anderson and I met when we were both working at Fortune Builders. And I was a business coach. She was a real estate coach. And I was just so in awe of her when we were there, because this is a lady who just never stops. She survived cancer. I want her to tell that story. And her business kept growing and thriving. She does it all. She does wholesale, rehab. She has a rental portfolio. She's a private money lender. She speaks, she teaches, she coaches. She's just basically the Wonder Woman of real estate investing. Very down to earth, very involved in her community, employs a lot of her family and friends. I could just go on and on about how amazing this woman is. And I've been trying to get her to do this for months. And finally, she was able to squeeze me into her busy calendar. Joanna Anderson, thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to ask you, before you got into real estate investing, what were you doing before that? And then we'll talk about your real estate investing and how that journey developed.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me. It is a pleasure to be on your platform today. Before becoming a real estate investor, I was a biology teacher. I taught biology for 14 years.
Oh my God. See, that's something I didn't know about you. How cool. What grades?
Middle school and high school, but mostly high school.
I bet those kids loved you, but were scared of you too. Because this woman doesn't mess around. She tells it like it is. And that's what I love about her, because I'm the same way. Well, so how do you go from being a biology teacher to a celebrity real estate investor, like a rock star top 5%er?
Well, totally different fields, but the key ingredient was education. I was an educator and I believed in the power of education. So I invested in my education in becoming a real estate investor. I didn't just jump in or watch a YouTube video or read a book. And I really invested in my education, and I still invest in my education in this industry.
And where did that investment begin? Did it begin with Fortune Builders or somewhere else?
Yeah,
okay.
Fortune Builders. Yeah,
so you were a Fortune Builder student success story.
Absolutely, we invested at the highest level because at the time I was married and we were both working very much full time, overtime at our jobs, and we had two little ones. So we figured that the best way to jump into this business and accelerate our growth was to invest in our education, and that proved to be accurate.
Oh, right on. And then let me ask you this, because this is something I'm curious about, and then I'll tell you why. How long did it take you to get your first deal? Once you started investing in your education, how long was the learning curve for you before you actually started to implement and get your first deal?
Well, I implemented right away, but I didn't get my first deal. I got my first deal 8 months in, and actually we got 3 deals all at once.
Okay. And then, so this is great, because I tell people, look, if you're in your first 1 to 5 years, oftentimes a lot of the most successful real estate investors, they weren't successful right out of the gate. It takes time. You're learning a whole new profession. And I love your emphasis on education, because when you're learning real estate investing and you're new and you've invested, say, in Fortune Builders or Pace Morby or whatever other education is out there that you find and resonate with, keep in mind, it's not a get rich quick. It's something that you need to learn. And then there are skills you need to develop. Wouldn't you agree with that, Joanna, that it's one thing to learn information, but then implementing it and mastering those skills is a whole nother thing. Would you speak on that a little bit?
Absolutely.
Being that you were a teacher too, so you really know the whole education loop aspect of things.
Yeah, obtaining knowledge is wonderful, but it's pointless, it's worthless if you're not implementing. I mean, we go through grade school and we learn all of these different things that if we never apply them to something, the Pythagorean theorem for one thing, we never apply it, it's not really real to us. It's just unuseful knowledge. So applying the knowledge that you gain is critical, especially in real estate investing. It's I would say it's kind of, well, for me, Fortune Builders was like getting a bachelor and a master's degree all at
Yeah,
once,
absolutely. Yeah.
and getting on the job training right away. I didn't have to wait 4 to 6 years for success because I implemented right away. And that's one thing that, you don't really get in college. You learn, but you're not implementing it in the real world. So with real estate investing, I would say it's very important to learn and take action immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, it gets overwhelming because, and I use that analogy too. It's like you're in college or in graduate school, and you don't go into the first semester and go up to the professor when you're in law school and say, "All right, where are my clients?" It's like you'd be laughed at. There's a certain amount of investment in educating, but the way to reduce overwhelm is learn a little and then apply that piece that you just learned, implement those things and develop that skill, because there's a lot of things. It's a complex business. There's, doing the research, there's knowing what to look for, understanding the numbers, getting confident, getting on the phone with sellers, knowing how to network strategically, different ways to find distressed properties, especially in an aggressive seller's market like we're in today. So how long did it take you before you were able to quit your biology teaching job and actually that this real estate business started to support you?
Well, I mean, let's be real, teachers don't make very much money. So I was making 50,000 a year as a teacher, but on my first flip, I netted 50,000 and that only took me 6 weeks. So, I mean, I replaced my salary in 6 weeks for that year. But I still stayed because I love teaching. It's my gift, it's my passion. It's meant for me to share that with the world. So I continued to teach in the public school setting for 2.5 years after becoming a real estate investor.
Okay, great. And I know you have kids. You're really great at marketing. She's very visible on Instagram, especially. She's always posting her before, during, and after. She's really great at marketing, phenomenal at it. And it just seems like you've got a huge community that surrounds you, a lot of family and friends. Have you employed a lot of family and friends to be involved in the business with you?
Well, I won't say employed, but I do. My family works with me on many different things. I have some that are my private lenders. I have some that will do small jobs for me, but none that are
They're
consistent.
not W-2s. It's
Right.
like a JV or a contractor type of
Mhm.
position. Okay, gotcha. And then as you progressed in your real estate investing, tell me the progression of how you started. You started flipping, and then just tell me about the other exit strategies. And by the way, how long have you been a real estate investor? How long?
10 years.
10
I've
years.
been
Okay.
10 years.
Give me the progression of how you built it out, where you were working all kinds of angles, because pretty much every angle there is to work, you're doing it in your business now, aren't you?
Well, I mean, I like to say that, but real estate investing is so vast, so broad that I haven't cracked the shell on some things. Like I haven't done any commercial yet. I came very close to doing one, but I haven't done that yet. But when I started, my business partner, which was my husband at the time, no longer married, he wanted to wholesale and I wanted to rehab. So I did not understand how you could get a property so cheap that somebody else would still buy it from you at a profit and do all the work. So
You just didn't get wholesaling?
right, I
A
didn't.
lot of people don't. They don't trust it. They're like,
Yeah.
no, I want a rehab. I don't want to wholesale. I said, wholesale is a rehab, right? You get that, right? All you're doing is there's a little clause in the contract that allows you to assign that contract. But a lot of people get confused about that. So how did you make peace with that?
Well, I mean, they are very different. One requires a lot of risk, which is the rehabbing, selling not much. So when we got our first 3 deals at 8 months, and so we decided to wholesale 2 and rehab 1, and we went with that formula for years. And
wholesale 2, rehab 1.
Okay. That was kind of our compromise and our way to always have capital, and it worked for us for many years. I would say in the beginning, I was just doubtful that I could own a rental, because in my mind, you had to have all of the cash to buy the rental. So you own the rental without a loan or something. But later on, I figured out how to put in rental properties too. So rentals are more of my focus now, because I'm really looking to replace my income passively. So instead, and maybe, maybe not, I don't know. I'm a little addicted, maybe move away from flipping properties. I rarely wholesale now. I did get into wholesaling myself, and not just my partner. I also did wholesaling myself. And so I've wholesale, rehab, I have rental properties. I've done some small private loans as well. And I own multifamilies. I was under contract for a hotel, and also
how exciting. Wow.
Also under contract for a small apartment building, but those did not pan out. So I'm still looking to move into the commercial and do some accessory businesses for real estate. Like I want to own a junk removal company. I want to own some dumpsters, things that complement real estate, but can easily be outsourced. And that's where
I like your entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah. And I'm also a realtor. I'm a realtor right after joining Fortune Builders. So before I got my first deal, I became a realtor, because I got tired of waiting on realtors to get me into properties, fit me in their schedule. And I wanted to have the real raw data of the MLS.
Yeah, I recommend that to a lot of my clients, is like, get your license if you can, because it gives you access. It just makes everything easier, but also you're going to save some money on commissions at some point, But what I like about what you're saying is you and your partner, are you guys still partners?
No, it's just me.
It's just you. What I think is cool about what you did is, even though you preferred rehabs, you were open to wholesaling, and you did them, and you were open, like, okay, I'll try that. But in the end, where your love is the rehabbing. And now where you're heading is, okay, at some point, I want to slow down and be able to just have passive income coming in. And then you're looking at these other opportunities. I love how entrepreneurial you are. So it's about building your rental portfolio, building passive income streams. You've been at this for 10 years. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, I will be retired. So my goal is to retire by 52 or at 52. I'm taking a sabbatical at the end of next year, a 3-year sabbatical for my first retirement. And so I'm going to travel internationally for 3 years and just enjoy.
No kidding, really?
Yeah.
Are you going with a group of friends or
No,
what? Just
no,
yourself?
just me, just me. And if, if I have some friends, you can't vacation with all friends, but if I have some friends that want to join me for different spots, then that's fine.
Have you mapped out where you want to go yet?
No, but I have some key things like New Zealand is top 5. Italy is top 5. Africa, we're doing that trip when my daughter graduates next year. So
What part of Africa?
the West. So it'll be Ghana and some of the surrounding areas there.
Are you going to do a safari?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to when you go to
Yeah.
Africa. Yeah. Yeah, there's parts of Africa like Morocco, the north edge of Africa, or down into South Africa that I'd like to go. And I just love the wildness of it. I would love to go do a safari. I used to have a friend that had a safari business down there, and she'd split her time between Tucson half the year and down there half the year. So where else would you go?
I want to go to Germany. I want to go to Brazil and Spain and some. I may tap my finger on Antarctica for a moment.
Okay. All right. And why 3 years? That's such an arbitrary time frame.
Well, 3 is my favorite number. One of the first year will be all service. So I'll spend a year serving my family and friends. So they get to rent me, so to speak, for 5 to 7 days out of that first year, where they can have me teach them about real estate, watch their kids while they finally go on the trip, hold their hand through a tough time, or go on some vacation they've been wanting to go on. So that's my first year is a year of service. And then the next 2 years is all about me.
All right. I love that. And you really are big on service, and you are a woman of faith too. Tell me how those two things have been key values in your business, your faith and your desire to serve your community.
Well, I'll start with the service first. Well, it's also faith. So I definitely believe in tithing. And so definitely 10% of my earnings, which is quite large, goes to various charities. I like to feed the homeless and work with the homeless population. I feel that's warranted, being that I renovate houses and provide places for
Yeah.
people to live. Serving the homeless is one of my passions. And then there are some organizations that I may have benefited from in my earlier years, like the Salvation Army, the Goodwill, places like that, because we grew up extremely poor. I don't know if you know, but I'm the youngest of 28 kids.
Your mother actually had 28 children come out of her body?
No, my mom had 9. My dad provided the rest.
With other women?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Bet your mom wasn't thrilled about that. But you got to know all of them?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that is a huge family. But you're the youngest of 9?
And the youngest of the 28 too.
And the youngest of the 20. Is everybody still alive?
No.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So yeah, poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so what would you say was your biggest motivator when you started out?
I've always had a servant's heart. So I definitely wanted to serve, and I wanted my time freedom. So as a teacher, we spend a lot of time teaching other people's kids, taking care of other people's kids. We work after hours, calling parents, grading papers. And I wanted to have that time for my own kids, because if I'm not nurturing my own, then what's the point of me taking care of everybody else's kid? So I wanted my time freedom mostly.
Yeah. Wow. How exciting. And what were some of the biggest challenges and hurdles that you overcame early on when you were still learning the business? Were there fears and limiting beliefs? What were some of the things that you sounded like you were very highly motivated, and having come from a teaching background, just knew how to apply, what you were learning. But, for those you've coached a lot of real estate investors also. What would you say were your biggest challenges, say, in your first 1 to 2 years in the business?
My biggest challenge was working with a partner. So
That you eventually divorced. So yeah, we can get that. Yeah.
yes, but I would probably like, I don't like to partner. Um, and it was difficult in the beginning because we're in completely different fields. And in my field, I'm the head. In his field, he's the head. So when we come together, we just bumped heads. And so it was
You like
hard.
to be the boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no shame in that. Don't even
No.
hesitate. Own it. You resonate that. You you exude that leadership. And I had to come to terms with that recently too, in building a team with my coaching businesses. It actually, I want to be a democratic leader, but I think it works better if I'm the boss.
Mhm.
And I'm not because I want to boss. It's not an ego thing. It's I've got ideas. I am that entrepreneur. I've got where I want to go. I've got that plan, that vision for the future, and can also see, okay, where are all the pieces? So what is it about being the boss? Why is that important to you? Why does it work better for you to be the boss?
I think it's accountability. It's just me. I have to really take a deep look at myself. If I'm failing, if the business is failing, it's on me. If the business is winning, it's on me. So I think that accountability piece really hits home and really hones out the best of me.
Absolutely. I have a saying that accountability causes us to rise to the occasion and be the best version of ourselves. When someone else is watching and someone else is interested and we have to check in with someone, it makes us get up and go and do things that on our own we might just kind of slack off about. And so I love that. What were some other challenges for you? You said partnership has been a challenge for you.
Yeah, it was just all of that because
Yeah,
it's too easy to blame somebody else when
right,
you have a partner
right.
instead of digging deep and making it happen regardless. My business skyrocketed after I got rid of the partner. So I've done tremendously.
Your business and your life, right?
Yes, 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 both.
Yeah.
Another challenge I would say was time management. At first, when I was teaching, time management was very rigid. I was mastering the time. I didn't have a lot of time. So I had to make it happen within the time that I had. So I would meet with my contractors at 7 a.m. on my way to work. And we would only meet once a week. So that meant that I had to have precise scope of work and details of work for them to do, because that one day that I come, if it's not done, they're not getting paid. And so,
What I love about that, there's accountability for them.
mhm.
And it's like you had a system, a routine, there were clear expectations. Say more about contractors and how you work with them so that it works. Because
Well,
so
let me finish the
yeah,
first
yeah,
thought. So
sure.
once I stopped teaching and I had a lot of time, I mismanaged my time greatly.
Okay,
So I was looking to see which girlfriends could go out to lunch. I'm just
right.
wasting time. And so productivity also took a hit because I stopped working full time. It wasn't about the money, it was about the structure and um, the commitment that I had to have. And once I had more free time, I was free. Mentally, I was lenient then because I had more time. I just wasted more time. And then so I had to
Right.
really take a look at that and get myself back on track or create a
Yeah,
new.
I absolutely agree. And that's something we coach people a lot on, isn't it? Just look, you got to, if you're working another job, you've got to find the time and make that time really count. Or if you're doing this full time, you've got to treat it like a job. You've got to, I have this saying, let your schedule be your boss. Like lay out on your schedule what you're doing, and you've got to focus on those revenue generating activities. And whether you feel like it or not, if it's on your calendar, you're doing it. And it's important because, yeah, you just let one day go by and then a week's gone by, and before you know it, months have gone by and you're not really doing anything productive with your time.
Yeah.
And then on that second point,
The contractors, yes. So I currently have 4 teams of contractors. And so I do provide them with the scope of work and a payment schedule, most importantly, because contractors are notorious for mismanaging resources, including mine. So we have a payment schedule, and I create that with them. So if we're expecting 4 payments, we're going to break that down to what should be completed for the first payment to occur. And so we work on that together so that when that time comes, we've already set the payment schedule for the entire project. So when I come back and they're asking for a check, I just look at the payment schedule. Oh, well, these are the things we said were going to be done, and this is not done, so you do not get paid. Or this is all done, so yes, here's your check. I'm happy to pay as work is completed.
yeah, okay. And then, a lot of newer investors, there's what comes first, the chicken or the egg thinking. Oh, I don't want to generate leads, seller leads, because I don't have the money for the deal. Talk a little bit about that, because I'm like, look, hard money lenders aren't even going to talk to you unless you have a deal. They can tell you what their terms are, but until you have a deal on their doorstep, private money lenders, there's a little more flexibility. But talk about that, that balance of, I know you're more experienced now and you have more resources, but when you started out, how did you make peace with that?
Well, you're going to get a ton of no's to begin with. So you might
Yeah,
as well get those no's out of the way early, whether you have the money to do a deal or not. And you always have wholesaling that you can use as a backup. So while you're marketing for sellers, also market for buyers to buy your wholesale deals. In the case that you come up with a yes, and you get it under contract, you can't find the money to do it yourself. So then you just wholesale it to an end buyer and you make your profit right up front.
okay. So what would your advice be to a newer investor that's kind of stuck on, wow, I can't get a deal because I don't have the money?
You don't need the money. You need $500, I'd say, for earnest money deposit. And even that you can borrow. You can always leverage other people's resources, whatever they
Yeah,
might be.
even if it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Even if you don't, you have to just be resourceful in this business and be a creative problem thinker, don't you think?
Mhm. Absolutely. I mean, if you have credit, that's one thing you can also leverage.
Yeah, because it's a short-term loan.
Hmm.
And so even if it's a credit card with a high interest rate, you're not going to be keeping it on there for very long, right?
Right.
I remember when Fan and Paul were talking about the first deal, they bought a place for 75,000 and how they were just scrapping for all the, all these, with everybody they knew, trying to get all that money together for their first deal. Well, what else? What else would you like people to know about the journey of being a top 5%er, a successful real estate investor? Things that you see when you're coaching people, or you see in new investors, or that you struggled with, that knowing now, knowing, wishing what you knew now that you knew back then could have saved you a lot of time and struggle.
Well, one thing is you can't become stagnant in this business. You have to constantly be growing because, I mean, as we see just with COVID, the market changed. The market's continuing to change. We don't know when we're going to plateau or fall off the cliff or what. So
Right.
you cannot become stagnant. There's never, I don't feel like there's ever an arrival. There's not a point in my career when I'm going to say, oh, I've arrived now.
You're
because
always evolving.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And so is the world around you. You know, everyone's not going to want, they may not always want a 3-bed, 2-bath. You know, 2-bedroom, 1-baths are hot right now also.
Yep.
So you just have to constantly educate yourself, grow, get around the right people, look at for higher social networks to join. That's where you're going to find your money. That's where you're going to find your wealthy people, and people that are thinking like wealthy, whether they are yet or not, they will become because of the people that they are around. And so always surround yourself with a population of people that are where you want to be or higher than that.
Absolutely. I have a saying, if you want to fly like an eagle, don't hang out with turkeys. Yeah, very good. Well, okay, so I really have appreciated, picking your brain and learning more about you, like being a biology teacher, for example. And that you're going to retire in 10 years and that you're going to take a 3-year sabbatical as a practice retirement. I mean, I love all that. I'm a traveler too. I love to travel. And you hit some of the spots that I want to go to as well. If you could just shout from the rooftops something and really have an impact and share your wisdom where it would seep into people's brains and bones, and they would take that information and actually go out there and do something with it, what would your message be to real newer or inexperienced real estate investors, or those that are still struggling to figure it out? What would your advice be?
Believe in yourself.
Mm,
Believe in yourself. For me, growing up, I never doubted that I was going to be more than my surroundings. I never doubted. I wanted to be a doctor. I took the steps to becoming a doctor, and then I decided, no, I'd rather have a family and have it early. And then, I just knew that success was in my blood. And sometimes we, whether we have that confidence or not, we forget all that we've accomplished. So I would suggest, when you get in those moments, make a list of the things that you have accomplished. Even if it's going back to that kickball game you won in kindergarten, make a list of all the things that you have accomplished and live in that for a moment. Really read through it and pat yourself on the back to help grow your confidence and propel you into the next thing. Because it's not always going to be easy, but you have to realize that you are built for this. And that's for whatever. It might not be real estate investing, it might be something else. You are built for this. Those dreams that you're dreaming didn't just come from nowhere. It's because you can. It's because you can accomplish them. So don't waste time doubting yourself. Go out and get what is yours.
yeah, or fake it till you make it. That I absolutely agree with you. I think as coaches, our jobs are to believe in people until they believe in themselves. That I think a large reason why people hire coaches is for that. They don't believe either in themselves or the process, and so they're leaning on someone who does until they do. And that's always an exciting part of the coaching process for me, is seeing someone make that transformation, like that aha moment. They believe, they believe in themselves, they believe in the process. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm a big fan of yours, and I really appreciate you sharing your experience, your wisdom. I will tag you on this video when I post it in the group. And is there anything like that you like a program or anything that other than your real estate investing that you want people to know about with regard to you and your services?
Well, I do private coaching, one-on-one coaching. You can reach out to me via Facebook or Instagram. Facebook is just my name, Joanna Anderson. Instagram, it's Joanna, the favorite one. Then I also have a YouTube channel that hosts some video diaries and seller testimonials there, which are good for learning the process. If you like seeing before and afters or the making of the donuts, then that's a good place to go. Also have an event coming up that I'm speaking at, a Reup meetup, REUPMEETUP.com. And that's going to be held in Columbia, South Carolina.
Are you doing that with Christy?
July
Yeah.
23rd. And then we're launching a marketing intensive after that. So it'll be 1 month course for marketing. That's usually where most people have their issues.
Yeah.
So it'll be all marketing related courses.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today to speak with me, Joanna. I appreciate you very much, and I wish you great success. And when are you going to take the 3-year sabbatical? When does that start?
Probably August. So my daughter graduates in June. She should be going off to college in August, and then I'll take off.
Right on. And the business will run without you.
Yep.
Awesome. Good for you. Wow, it's going to be like in a few months you're doing all that.
Oh, don't.
How exciting. How exciting. All right. Well, thanks again. Have a great weekend. Thanks for your time. Thanks for sharing your experience. We appreciate you. Joanna Anderson, she is one of the top 5%ers. This gal knows her stuff. All right. Have a great weekend, Joanne.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.